But God forgives us our weaknesses so long as we...
So long as we what? I haven't seen a sign of God lately. I mean, is he even listening?
Well, maybe his silence is essential to our free will.
I think that there has been a change in the basics of human nature. Something old, brutal, and hellish is here.
I don't think that you're crazy to think that.
You sense it. Nobody can do anything about it. It's like the darkness that hangs in the air even when it's sunny and light. It's like God just locked up and left. Adios.
And so what if he did, Lois? What if he's gone? What if that's exactly what he's done? Big Daddy's left and gone on a business trip, so we have the codes. We know the rules that goodness is governed by. And maybe this is his way of telling us that it's time that we figure this shit out on our own.
He didn't just leave, Father. He left the keys to the candy store to the devil.
Welcome, everybody. I don't know what just happened. I don't know if that video was glitching or was it my computer. Vance, was it glitching for you?
No, not for me. Look good.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. And then maybe it's my computer. After yesterday's show, I was like, oh my God. Tech Archons. Well, anyway, here we are, regardless, at the end of the world in this Philip K. Dick world, these Gnostic times and age of Hermes. We have been preparing for this moment all our lifetimes, and we are getting out, and we are going to be free because that is our destiny. That is our inheritance. That is our ultimate gnosis. So welcome, everybody, to Aeon Byte. Heresy shouldn't be this much fun, but it is. It just is. My name is Miguel Connor, and I am indeed your Pompatus of Gnosis. And I'm so happy to see people here on this moon day, on this lunes, as we say in Espanol. And at the beginning of this week, we had some tech issues yesterday with Micah Dank, but worry not, we're scheduling the second round, and this time we'll get it right towards the end of April. Great shows coming the rest of this month, including Jason Reza Georgiani will be joining us. We'll do a very unique show on UFOs and other stuff, and May's going to be amazing. So I'm very happy you're here, and I'm very happy for your support and how you help me keep the lights of the Pleroma on, keep the Red Pill Cafeteria going. And today's a special show because we have all here employees of Aeon Byte in a discussion. We've got the podcasters and the sidekicks and all that here on this special show, and we're going to have some amazing research for you. But first, we've got the Moondog Vance. Vance, how are you doing?
Oh, looking forward to hearing what Graham is going to say tonight and getting into the fray and debating the archons and the barcons.
The barcons.
Yeah, I've got the barcon here somewhere.
Oh, yeah, the barcons.
He's somewhere in the room here.
Yeah, hoping that the chat room won't have Watico and become the Chatico.
Oh, yeah, the Chatico. How could I forget?
Yeah, I know you banned a guy a couple of days ago that was just out of control.
I did.
It's a rare thing, but it had to be done.
Yeah, once in a while we get somebody coming through there that decides they're the guest, So.
Oh well, yeah, I know you're a paragon or a champion for free speech, but
I am.
If it disturbs the rest of the people in chat having good, logical, great conversations, they're spamming. Right. Yeah, boot them out. Awesome, and also the main event is also an amazing wingman, and that is my friend Graham Pong. Graham, how are you doing today?
Very good, Miguel. This proves that the Moondog and I do not destruct when we're in the same place.
Yep. Same philosophies for the most part when it comes to dealing with people and allowing people to express themselves. We all believe people can hang or crown themselves by their own words. let them do it, right?
Exactly. The problem is when they're doing something other than expressing themselves.
Yeah, they're trolling. The old expression. They're just trolling. So awesome.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, good to see people in the chat again. I don't even know if we should even do super chats. I'll let Vance decide since it's a special show and everyone's here. You decide, Vance. I'll let it.
All right. If I see a really good question, I can throw it up.
There you go. There you go. We got to keep Graham on his toes
That's
tonight,
right.
although he could go in the chat and answer all these questions easily himself. So, well, Graham, tell us what is in stall for us tonight. What is going to happen?
Well, tonight is yesterday was a special anniversary because 4 years from today, all of the events I'm going to be talking about will know what the outcome will be. Because Friday, April 13th, 2029 is the day Apophis is due for its flyby. And that's this is something that I identified identified the flyby myself back in 2019. It was originally found in, I believe it was 2004 was when they first identified it and the potential of how close it can get to Earth.
Interesting. Interesting.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to ask you any questions or will all these questions be answered in your presentation? Like who is Apophis? What's going on? All that good stuff.
But it was an asteroid, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an asteroid that they just happened to also name after the Egyptian god of chaos.
Yeah.
Of course.
They want to destroy the world. Only Ra is stopping him.
They want to scare us off, scare us off the planet.
Total coincidence. Yeah, just like Friday, the April 13th date. Total coincidence.
Yeah, real coincidence. Real coincidence.
Of course, the prediction of asteroids is interesting because it really is a case of the three-body problem. They really never know what exactly is going to happen because all the different bodies of the universe and the solar system in particular will change the path of these things in an unpredictable way, like the chaotic pendulum. So they know a little bit about some things, but it has to come closer and closer before they think it's going to hit or not.
You don't know how close you are to hitting on important points there, Vance.
Well,
give away spoilers. He's getting the spoilers.
Don't want to take that away. So, steal your
I
thunder
don't mind
crash.
I don't mind you hanging leads for me. That's perfectly fine, Vance.
Oh, good. That's what I did. Let's go for it.
Yeah. Well, does anybody want to start like a Heaven's Gate religion for 2029? See if we could jump on that meteorite.
They're doing so without my blessing, because
we'll pull out at the last
religions
minute.
or cults.
Yeah. We'll pull out at the last minute or something, or switch the Kool-Aid.
Anything's possible when Katy Perry rides a giant dildo into space for 10 minutes.
I know. Maybe we do deserve the asteroid, Vance. Maybe it will be welcoming it by then.
I haven't seen the video yet from inside the capsule, but I did hear reports that they were all screaming, and I just kind of wonder what they were screaming.
You're driving too fast. Pull over.
At least Katie didn't sing fireworks.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God. Oh, Lord. All right. Let's pull up the visuals and let's take this on. Where you see it, Graham?
Yep, I see it. We're good. I call this presentation Wag the Asteroid. It's a play off of the 90s movie Wag the Dog. And it's basically, I explain how if some group wanted to do a psy-op using Apophis, just how such a psy-op could be executed. Not that I know of any group that's doing it or any group that might even be interested. Just your potentialities exploring.
Why am I imagining the archons opening their notebooks, getting ready to take copious notes
on YouTube, or our FBI handlers going, "Hey, this is a good idea, guys."
Well, we're going to go to the next image.
All right, we are going to slide number dos.
Yeah. What we're doing is we're doing an exercise in prognostication, which is reading potential future timelines. And we're sitting there, and on the screen here, you can see the various things going through there. I tend to sum all of this up into what I call passing the 3 R's, which is my filter that I call for rational, realistic, and reasonable. And that's a good. Not everything is that true fits through there, but that's a good filter to sort out a lot of the chaff from the wheat. So we can go on to our next image here. And not only do we need to identify timelines, next image, yeah, we also need to evaluate how plausible they are. And we need to, various things, assess the strength. Not every possible timeline has an equal probability. So basically, you have to be like the Sunday football pre-show, where we're sitting here and handicapping, giving, who's injured, what the various odds are on the games, and things like that. So next image.
And this is your process of getting to these ideas, right? For the audience.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you can use that for anything: history, politics, theology.
Oh yeah,
it works.
A lot of it's using what I call the Sesame Street approach, where one of these things is not like the other, and you keep throwing out what doesn't fit until whatever's left does. It's kind of Sherlock Holmes like.
Right. Makes sense. All right, I'm moving to slide number 4.
Yep. And basically what I do is I sat down and I said, what would the archons do? I said, if I was, a secret global cabal that was, controlling the world and, running things, just what would I do if I had an opportunity like Apophis? Because, as somebody said, never let a crisis go to waste.
Yeah. Rahm Emanuel, I believe, said that, or at least he was quoted, but he was just expressing what they all think.
Yeah, I was going to say I heard it attributed to Hillary Clinton, but
one of those neoliberals.
I'm not sure that they don't share the same mind. So
yeah, exactly. Or have the same demonic overlords.
Yep. Same archon above them. Next slide.
All right. Well, can you unpack a little bit this for those that might just be listening on audio?
Sure. Let me get this up to size for me.
Yeah, I see.
No, the idea is
control.
This is basically how the archons execute their general plans.
Mm-hmm.
They they establish control. It's a control the narrative. It's an information control where they try to set themselves up as the source of information and the authority over information, and they triangulate society, and they use control by the middleman. It's very much a case of, it's like with the U.S. government. They don't actually buy the politicians; they just rent them for a while via campaign contributions.
Hey, there's something missing in these points. Entertainment. I know it would be included through media, but entertainment media is very highly used these days to deliver agendas and messages and so forth.
Absolutely right, Vance. It's a double-pronged approach. Not only is it designed to deliver the message, especially subconsciously, but it's also set up as a distraction to keep the people from doing things that actually would progress themselves forward.
Oh yeah, that's true too. Yep.
Yeah, and some of the others, he's got divide and conquer, cultivate elite suppression of genuine threats, technological advancement, political manipulation. Yeah, all the bag of goodies. Yeah, it reminds me, Graham, like one of my favorite manipulations is looking at evil was Dick Cheney during the Iraq War. People with the weapons of mass destruction. Uh, Reporters would come and ask him, "Are there weapons of mass destruction?" He said, "Yes, according to the White House, there is." So, of course, the reporter needed two more sources to validate it, to go to the New York Times or Wall Street Journal. So basically, Cheney already had plans in the military and in Congress, knowing that reporter was going to go to them, and they were already trained to say, yes, there are weapons of mass destruction. So what happens? New York Times, there are weapons of mass destruction. So something as little as that makes a big difference, right, Graham?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying that Dick Cheney is evil. I do recognize that he was the first sitting vice president since Aaron Burr to actually shoot another human being.
That's a good one. Yeah, and responsible for like 1 million deaths. So, what's evil? What's an archon?
Exactly. He's not bald. I never saw him petting a cat with his finger in the mouth.
Oh, Lord, yes. Well, I hope everybody's getting there, writing these notes down, you two archons and FBI agents, because we are very easily manipulated, or we are when we don't see their bag of tricks, and their techniques and their tools. All right, so now I'm at slide number 5, and tell us.
I have one last comment on the last one, and that was a perfect example of one of those elites that got cultivated was Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
The theosophist?
People think of it. What's that?
He was a theosophist.
I didn't know that. I mean, I knew he was a racist, but I didn't know about the
eugenist. Yes. Yeah. Well, tell us about Thomas Edison.
Well, most people think he invented the light bulb. He didn't. There were probably 100 people who had working light bulbs before him. What happened was he actually came up with one that was economically viable, and it's the one that let's say the archons sat there and saw that this was somebody who they could work with.
Interesting.
And that was somebody who could be a front man, and if you gave him the money, he would do with the money the sorts of things that the archons might want done with that money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of like Alexander Graham Bell. He didn't invent the telephone. That was actually Philip Rice from Germany, and Bell filed for the patents, the year after Rice died.
Wow, I love knowing more and more, as you said. As well, the quote you showed me a long time ago, the Alan Moore quote: "All history is fiction." There's always something behind any official narrative, right?
Oh, exactly. And again, even if there's not an agenda behind it, it's any sort of history suffers from the map territory problem. It's an inherent, concatenation, a synopsis of what happened. It can't be what actually happened.
Right.
So.
It's complicated. So, well, don't tell me that the Wright brothers didn't invent the airplane. I'm sure that's official, right?
Okay, I won't tell you that, Miguel. I'm not telling you that. I'll let you find that out on your own.
Yeah, I think I've heard. Who was it? Turkish brothers or French brothers? Who was the original inventor?
They had quite a few people who were, basically having something viable at the time. I forget all the names.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing with Edison. And again, so many of those inventions, there's it's sort of like, watching American Idol. None of the finalists suck. They all have a hell of a lot of talent. It's just a question of which one of the the archons on the panel of American Idol is going to give the nod.
Right, make history. The history written by the victors.
Exactly.
Next thing you're going to tell me, Philo Farnsworth didn't invent the TV. Or John Cropper didn't invent the toilet.
Philo, I do believe, invented the TV. Again, I buy a story that he came up with the idea in high school when he was plowing the field thinking about physics class.
Well, there
I have
you
a
go.
feeling it was him too. And Nikola Tesla invented the fluorescent bulb, only he didn't market it.
Again, Tesla, him signing over the patents to Westinghouse for free for AC current and all of that stuff. How the world could be different if that hadn't happened.
Oh my God, yes. Also, I heard that his big financier was this rich guy on the Titanic who
JP
died.
Morgan?
And,
Astor, John Jacob Astor.
Yeah, that's it. He was financing Tesla to thwart JP Morgan, but when the accidental quote unquote crashing of the Titanic, Tesla was as they say, shit out of luck, and JP Morgan could have his way with him and all these other inventions. So history, huh?
Yeah, no, then nothing to do with the Federal Reserve or any of that either.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, well, this is getting depressing. Let's go to the hopeful part of asteroids destroying Earth.
Exactly. Now we have the hero of our story.
A giant peanut. Mr.
Pretty much.
Peanuts.
That's the best. That's the best imaging they have of it. Again, it's
who took that picture?
Lightweight.
Who took that picture? Some astronaut.
I knew the world was nuts, but to be destroyed by a giant nut.
No, now Vance is going to go on a roll for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll stop the cracks.
Oh,
I'm just a shell of my former self now.
All right, what do we have here, Graham?
Well, we have some vital statistics on Apophis. It's basically about 1,500 feet long on the long axis, 560 feet on the short axis, and it's about 30 million tons in weight. And the potential for damage is pretty solid. We can go on to the next image here.
Okay.
Is it salted or unsalted?
God.
This one here is the unsalted. We're going to get to the salted next.
See, set you up there again.
Yep. No, the estimation if it impacted on land is you'd end up with an impact crater which would be about 3.3 miles wide and about 1,600 feet deep. It would set up the estimated energy release is about 2 gigatons of TNT, and the fireball would reach 80 miles in diameter. Wow. And throw in another 10 mile, about another 10-mile diameter, and you'd have total devastation over 90 miles. Now, the salted version, if it lands in the ocean, which has a 70% chance, it would basically generate a tsunami that would be up to 1,600 meters high. And in the ocean, it would release so much water into the air that it would basically block out the sun and produce a nuclear winter for the next year to two.
Wow.
So, as you can tell, this is definitely something significant that you don't want to mess with.
No, and the tsunamis would be the specific ocean or globally?
It would essentially end up going around the globe.
Oh, okay.
But what it would be, most significant, in the ocean that it actually impacted it.
Right. Okay.
And impacting in Earth, isn't our only concern. Because next slide.
Okay, next slide.
It could impact the moon.
Oh, yeah.
And we do have a record of just such an, potential record of such an impact that could have happened in 1178. Because I have on here the quote from the Canterbury monks that they recorded. And in their words, it says, from the midpoint of the division, a flaming torch sprang up, spewing out over a considerable distance. Fire, hot coals, and sparks. Meanwhile, the body of the moon was below, which was below, writhed, as it were in anxiety. And to put it in words of those who reported it to me and saw it with their own eyes, the moon throbbed like a wounded snake.
Oh.
Afterwards, it resumed its proper state. This phenomena was repeated a dozen times or more, the flame assuming various twisting shapes at random and then returning to normal. After these transformations, the moon was horn to horn, that is, along its whole length, took on a blackish appearance. And the thought is that the monks saw, an asteroid storm hitting the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And the blackish appearance at the end was the ejecta blocking out the image of the moon.
Mm.
And the big threat to Earth from that is that the ejecta from Apophis, if it happens to hit, would within a week or two, that ejecta would end up raining down on Earth. And you're basically, it's gonna, all of those particles, it's gonna take out the vast majority of satellites in space.
Wow.
And while it's going to be pretty, and the threat of, some pieces will probably land and do damage, eliminating what, the global space presence is going to be very civilization altering.
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter which side of the moon it hits, as far as the effects on Earth?
I didn't see that mentioned. I would think that I would think that if it hit on the far side, it wouldn't have as much impact, as much devastation. So it would depend on where the moon was, in its cycle around the Earth relative to when the asteroid went around. So, no, good question, Vance.
Yeah, the backside of the moon, the one that faces away from the Earth all the time, has a huge crater just about right in the center. I wonder if some similar event didn't happen eons ago.
Could have. And the one that I find interesting is the biggest crater on the moon is the one on the southern pole.
Interesting.
Yeah. So next, we're going to go through the various steps of how you would execute such a psyop.
And for the audience listening on audio, he's got that classic picture of the president of the United States from Idiocracy, which we're finding out is a documentary, not a Hollywood movie.
Oh, there's a lot of those that ended up, you didn't realize it at the time that were documentaries, like They Live.
Yeah, exactly. The Matrix, Dumb and Dumber. All right. So what's the plan? What's the plan here for the psyop?
The plan is you start setting up the public. You sit there, you tap into their inherent fear of catastrophic events.
Mm-hmm.
You breed their trust and authority in the media. You recognize that people when they are in an extreme situation and respond emotionally, their critical thinking shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
And you do the traditional unity in crisis. Everybody band together in the face of a superior enemy. Which is all of that. You know, it's easy to see how you can use a potential impact with Apophis. You know, that's check.
Right. So basically, there's a threat coming. It's not Reds under your bed. It's not radical Muslims. It's not a virus from the other side of the world. It's
It's not transgender going down the street in a parade. No.
No, this is a mighty object from the heavens that's going to destroy. Of course, then you've got the religious aspect, so you can bring in Armageddon, but also too, I mean, shouldn't they already start seeding this with movies like that stupid Bruce Willis movie where they destroy the comet in midair? There's been a few of those movies. Isn't that part of it, Graham? Start with the Hollywood movies to train us.
Oh, absolutely. You need to basically prime the pump.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they did that. They've been doing that. That was back in the 90s. You had again, I have them later on. You're jumping ahead on me, but you have Bruce Willis.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. We can talk about it now, and we can go faster when those slides come up.
Right,
you got Bruce Willis, in Armageddon. You had space. If you're the older generation, you got Space Cowboys with Clint Eastwood and Tommy Lee Jones.
Right.
You had the water, the one where it gets to Earth, where Frodo discovers an asteroid in Deep Impact.
Oh yeah, you're right. You can even say the Fifth Element has those elements. Evil asteroid coming to wipe out human race.
Or that was the end of which one of those aliens? The Alien Resurrection?
No, I was talking about the Fifth Element, where you got this demiurgic.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I was going to say the asteroid impacting Earth. I want to say that was at the end of one of the Aliens movies. I want to say that was Alien Resurrection.
Well, let me think. It's been a while. I hate Alien 3, so I wiped it out. Alien Resurrection, it was okay. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Of course, Leave the World Behind. That's another one made by Obama. Good one, Golden Child. I forgot about that one. That was pretty recent.
Yeah. Older, Night of the Comet.
Oh, of course, a classic. That was a good movie. All right.
You got to wonder. You got to wonder
if remember or think of any more movies. Let us know. What were you saying, Van? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You got to remember. You got to wonder if this is this isn't the shadow of the second coming, right?
You mean Project Bluebeam? Yeah. The next step in the con is you start to play the con. You set your hook.
Mm-hmm.
And this is some of what you were talking about earlier there, Miguel, where you're sitting there and you're putting those movies out there. You're trying to, just sort of seed initial vague concerns, and that's where you have reports, things like the recent the 2024 asteroid that they discovered, all these ones that they discover and fly by.
Oh, yeah. Then we start elevating astronomers as celebrities. I'm sure that's coming.
Oh, yeah. You got to have any sort of crisis. You have to have the heroes that get you out of the crisis.
Of course. Yeah.
Where's Carl Sagan when you need him?
Yeah, exactly. Or where's what's the name? Slim Pickens and Dr. Strangelove. He can ride the Apophis away from Earth. Yeehaw!
Yeah.
I was
in that case, wrote it into Earth, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Carl was billions and billions of seconds ago.
All right. Keep going.
And keep going.
Next slide. Okay.
Yeah, next slide.
Slide number 9.
Yeah, this is where they're playing it. They start implementing the plan. They start, and this is what we were just talking about, where you're sitting there and having various incidences, concerns, the experts. And the big point here, and this is one that they just came out with, is, and this is what, how narcissists and the archons like to work, is on the next slide here.
Okay, going to slide number 10.
Yep. This is the chart of when we can actually observe Apophis. Right now, Apophis is on the far side of the sun. We haven't been able to get any sort of sighting on Apophis since 2022. And the next time we'll be able to is spring of 2027. Basically 2 years before when the potential impact would happen. And and what happened is, in December last year, Paul Weigert of Western Ontario, this is a chart from his paper, he explained that an impact of as little as 1 meter per second, while we're not able to looking at, could alter the orbit enough in order to have it impact Earth rather than go around. And that impact, and he's talking about an object that's maybe about the size of, 10 kilograms. And that's all you need to an impact in order to change it enough.
The space butterfly effect.
Exactly. And another concern is, and this is where that control of information is, how can anybody really double check the calculations and the observations? How do you have an independent set of observations that you can then calculate from? You're left having to trust whatever the experts say.
Yeah, you know what else? Hey, you could go through a dark energy pool somewhere. I mean, they can't detect dark energy, but it's out there, and before you know it, it's got a chaotic path and that you can't predict.
I never understood that reasoning. How, if I can't detect something, it can do anything?
Yeah.
Comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, maybe we just need to tap Katy Perry on the shoulder, say, "You're going for your second rocket ride." You're not coming back, though.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah, I don't either. All right, so we go to slide 11?
Yeah, let's go to the next slide. That's what I say.
Okay.
So once you've laid it out there and you've sprung that, all of a sudden something must have hit Apophis because the direction has changed. Now you start rolling out your response. You start your urgent warnings. You start trying to figure out, how are we going to handle things now? People are in panic. It's basically, as we were talking about in the first slide. Now you're springing your trap on the people. And then we can go on to the next slide.
Yeah, use of worst case scenarios.
Oh, exactly. What they do is they sit there and say something is possible to happen, but they won't say how probable it is to happen. And then, like you said, the worst case scenario, they sit there and say, well, now we have to plan against this worst case scenario, even though it has a 1 in a million chance of happening. And it just so happens my buddy has exactly the company that builds the product that solves the problem.
Really?
Yeah, right. And of course, there's the Apophis tax that they'll have to lay on us all to pay for it.
Yeah.
Hey, diverting an asteroid that was never going to hit Earth doesn't come cheap.
No.
Yeah, so Well, there's all the advertising expense, and
And there could be another one right after this one, so we better start building and preparing.
No, because that's the idea behind my scenario. Is it's never going to hit Earth. They know it's not going to hit Earth, and they're just ginning up a crisis in order to take advantage of it. And in the image here I stole from Wag the Dog, the classic movie.
Great movie.
Again, with the blue screened war behind her and the Tostitos product placement. Yeah.
So they give us, I'm reading here, plausible but fake data about the asteroid size, trajectory, and impact, focusing on the potential for widespread devastation and loss of life to evoke strong emotional responses. Again, Hollywood does that very well. Video games do that very well. We already have it in our head what an apocalypse will look like, even without
what they'll do is they'll project the location where they think it might impact, and then interview the people on the site and how they feel about how it's going to be, and what are their plans, what are they going to do about it.
Yeah, they'll say that the asteroid is racist, so it must be stopped at all costs, or if you stop it, you're a bigot because it's Egyptian. So yeah,
I think they'll only say it's a racist if it's going to hit Africa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Create a sense of urgency and inevitability, making the public believe that the impact is unavoidable without significant action, which might be part of the underlying agenda. Okay.
Yep. So next slide. And here's one of I was going to say, this is I was going into some of the Hollywood seating here with there's one of the scenes from Deep Impact.
Oh yes, I remember.
And that was one where Morgan Freeman was president, and like I said, Frodo was the one that discovered the asteroid.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, so we can go on to the next slide real quick.
This one's titled "Giving the Convincer Demonstration / Proof."
Yeah, and what I had to do is I broke down the basic steps of a con job psy-op and showed how it could apply to the Apophis crisis, so to speak, crisis.
Let me read
this
it.
Is
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say this has it's you have the media leaks, just what you were talking about before with Dick Cheney, where you have the media leaks, or again, allegedly Donald Trump called up the New York press and gave leaks about himself. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yes.
And simulated events would be a good one, where they sit there and stage a certain things to come in.
Like the many murders of bin Laden. Okay. Expert testimonials, yeah. Releasing stage videos or images of the quote approaching asteroid. Yeah, they'll have fun with that one. I'm sure there'll be memes and AI videos on this asteroid. Simulated events, perhaps stage meteor showers or unusual atmospheric phenomena that could be misinterpreted as related to the asteroid. Yeah, you'll have a strong El Nino, and everybody, this is proof that the asteroid is getting closer or something like that.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this 4 years ahead of time, is to sit there and show how silly this could be, and hopefully, nobody actually has any idea of doing this. Hopefully.
Yeah. But like you said, it's good to know this, because once the virus sets in, right, Graham, it's very hard to stop.
Oh, exactly. And if you try to speak out something like this in the middle of one of these crises, people are just going to have emotional responses, and they've already shut down any critical thinking.
Right.
So, we can go down to the next one is, it's a question of the image is the We Are the World recording session.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea here is about generating this. They already have their programmed response in place about how the whole world is going to band together, fight against the asteroid, overcome it.
We're all in this together.
Exactly.
Gal Gadot singing Imagine or something like that. Yes, yes.
Now that they frightened everybody with how bad it could potentially, now you shift their attention with our new efforts of how we can save things.
Yeah. It's going to be harder because I think the age of the entertainer is not as powerful as it used to be. Unless, again, we saw what happened with Gal Gadot. We know what people think about celebrities these days. There's a high hatred for them as much as there's a distrust for the media and the government. So I guess they'll have to go with the Instagram influencers. That still works.
That's what I was just thinking. Influencers and TikTok. Yep.
That's it. Yeah. In between selling shampoos and other things, they can talk about the asteroid.
And that I was going to say, and as we move on here, we have our, the ones we talked about already, the images of, some of the heroes we've been seated on, where they've already seeded that narrative into people's minds about how, the asteroid's coming and we're going to send people. Go on to the next slide. We got Bruce is waiting for us.
There he is. Yes.
Yeah. About how people are already seated. This is how it goes. You send up the astronauts, they save the day, everybody celebrates.
Yeah.
Like I said, whether it's Bruce or Clint, either one. Clint's next.
It's blue collar workers. There you go. That Tommy Lee Jones, right? Yeah, it is.
Yep. Yeah.
Clint on the right.
Yeah, but again, regardless of who we send up, even Steve Buscemi couldn't screw it up.
We're going to send up the dude, though.
Yeah.
He'll abide. He will abide.
I was going to say, if they remake the movie these days, I think we need to send The Rock up.
Oh, yes, please.
You're just saying that because the one that saves the day doesn't come back.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. Oh, Lord. All right,
So,
what's on the next slide?
The next slide is now
Sting.
you have the Sting, the manufactured victory. We've sent Bruce up. He's dying on the asteroid and saving the day. This it's the climax of the story. And
they landed on it at 1 meter per second and thwarted the asteroid.
They tapped it, basically.
Right.
I was going to say maybe they, burped and farted.
Yeah, basically.
And the image here I stole, Newman and Redford from The Sting. Had to do that.
Yeah, classic movie. Great flick. I always forget how great Paul Newman was. Robert Redford just looked good. That's it.
Both of them were class acts. I give Redford a lot of credit that he never did the divorce the wife and, marry the Hollywood starlet sort of thing.
Yeah. My favorite will always be Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. One of my all-time favorite Westerns.
Oh, no, absolutely great. I love that one. Outlaw Josie Wales by Clint is another
any of the
one.
spaghetti westerns I love. I mean, I put all of those as my favorite number one.
Yeah, a lot of it depends what mood I'm in.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the next step, you have the declaration of success.
Mission accomplished.
Yep. That was posted on a ship somewhere, I remember.
Yes, I remember, yes. It was the beginning of the end, actually.
I thought that was the end of the beginning.
Yeah, whatever you want to say it. It was genocide. It was bloodshed. It was the acceleration of fall of the American empire in Western culture. It was all of those things.
One thing it definitely wasn't. It wasn't the end of the end.
No, God, no, pity.
But basically it's the, now that they have averted the impact that was never going to happen, they get to announce that due to their brilliant efforts and all the money that their company spent, that the taxpayers sent them, that success has been achieved and the Earth has been saved. And of course, the world is very, very thankful to these people who have now saved them from what never was going to hit Earth.
Right. And eventually we'll roll back all those civil rights you lost in time. But for now, don't worry about it.
Exactly. Just be happy. Don't worry. And finally, we reach the end, which is what they do after the celebration, which is control the narrative. Because, you can't let this, things like that asteroid was never going to hit Earth get out.
Mm-hmm.
You have to maintain, your that consistent victory message. You have to maintain, that big lie about the asteroid. And, and they lived happily ever after.
Scanning the skies for the next one.
But they don't have to worry as much now, fans, because they have their heroes who can save them. And they have to pay those heroes a certain tribute every single year to make sure they're able to save them.
Yeah, they'll get old, though. They'll get old, and they'll need a new set of heroes. And people will forget. That's what happens, like with 9/11. After a while, no matter how horrendous it is, people forget. And then they have to do the whole process over again.
Wait. I thought they said after 9/11, never forget.
Yeah, they said it. Well, what happens? They say never forget so many times that people said, forget it.
Yeah. The old Archon, make you forget.
Because NASA's always coming out with, asteroid is approaching Earth. And they manipulate the headlines so it sounds like it's going to hit. It's approaching within so many million miles of Earth, and it could impact and so forth. And but what they don't tell you, it's going the wrong way, or it's going so fast, it just skims by, or the sun's gravity is going to catch it. They leave certain little details out. So that's all the time they're talking about asteroids.
No, and that's why I identified Apophis as a particularly, juicy candidate there, with those little windows of observation that they can manipulate, and it's of enough size to do all sorts of havoc and damage, enough to really frighten people. And that date, you gotta love a Friday the 13th date.
Of course, yeah, and the name had so much mythological charge that it's going to affect people. And then you think of also all the religions, whether evangelical Christians or Hindu sadhus or occultists, who will be saying, this is really Armageddon, this is really the apocalypse. And you'll have that fervor too, plus the UFO cults like, the Heaven's Gate cult I plan on starting soon. And then it's going to be a wild party.
As far as I know, they weren't debating between Apophis and Wormwood for the name.
Oh.
Wormwood. Yeah, that would have been a good one.
I don't think they were debating it. I don't know.
Who names this shit?
There's a guy in a janitor's closet someplace at NASA.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The same guy writing the articles.
And here I was thinking Dick Cheney, but
Yeah. His brood.
And probably his daughter. He passed it on to his daughter.
Yeah.
They do it from that undisclosed location.
Definitely.
Well, this has been really good, and an exercise in mind control, or how the crisis can be exploited. But Grandma, so for sure, so we can not let these archons give us the neuralizer from Men in Black. Number one, and correct me if I'm wrong, the odds of hitting Earth, we don't even know. They're probably going to be small. Number two, all it will take is a tap, not a concerted changing of society and trillions of dollars for some rocket ship and pomp and circumstance and all that.
Could take a tap. It depends. Right now, because it's so far away and all, it's especially a tap. That was, again, I'm going off the astrophysicist paper.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that, it getting hit while it's like on the other side of the sun by something. So, I don't know if the same amount of force when it gets that much closer. Because that's the sort of thing, when you hit the initial impact early on, an early change has time to accumulate.
And asteroids, they go around the galaxy, or what's their trajectory?
This is one that it crosses the Earth's orbit every single path that it goes around the sun. I want to say they call those Apollo. Yeah, the asteroids go around the sun as well. I want to say this is what they call an Apollo asteroid, that it crosses the Earth's orbit back and forth.
Yeah, highly elliptical orbit. So it's not a circle, it's a squished circle, so to speak.
It's not comet elliptoid, but yeah. And they have all sorts of the different asteroids in the solar system are fascinating. I mean, you have some of them that they never get close. They stay around Jupiter. They never get close.
Right, asteroid belt. Yep. Which I think used to be a blown up planet, or a planet that didn't form. I think blown up planet.
I'm going more with planet that didn't form.
Yeah, there's both theories. I don't know if anybody's really come up with anything to strongly suggest one or the other.
I'm saying the Nordics blew it up. When in doubt, go for the Nordics.
I was going to say, what was it? The Babylonians said Marduk did it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Planet Marduk. Yeah, you're right. I've heard of that. So the sun really has a pull, even though we really don't know where gravity comes from, right, Graham? It's still a mystery.
Well, there's all sorts of theories. I mean, Newton's gravity is good enough to send men to the moon, so that's a good margin of error for things there.
Right.
Einstein's a little more exact, but a lot more complicated to calculate.
In fact, general relativity says that gravity is due to the warping of space by matter.
So big bodies can warp time and space.
That's right.
Creating gravity or affecting it. Okay.
That's right.
That's where you have things like gravitational lenses where it bends light beams.
Yeah, and there are instances of the observation of that.
Interesting.
Bill, that's how they confirmed general relativity, is that the stars that they could see from the eclipse during a solar eclipse.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They could see stars that otherwise should have been behind the sun. I want to say that was Eddington who did the photography.
Very interesting. Well, if you guys have any super chats or questions that Vance deems gravitational, let us know. But yeah, this is definitely a good case study and treatise of sort of seeing how gravity is love, of seeing how the sausage is made from the elite and the archons when they see something. And I'm sure they've got something. They probably have a lot of scenarios prepared for possible future disasters and other things. So, but yeah, an asteroid seems like a good villain. I mean, we've tried all these other villains, from diseases to foreign threats to so many. I mean, I think I always thought the big one would be sort of a massive attack on our electrical and internet infrastructure. And that would be a big one to get people compliance. But they haven't planted any seeds anywhere, which is weird. So let's see what the seeds are. Are we going to see more asteroid disaster porn, or what's going to start happening in Hollywood, social media, literature, and other things? And if you guys have good eyes, you'll see it. You'll see it coming a mile away.
I was going to say, they've been dropping some hints about another one. Let's just say 2 words: Carrington event.
That's it.
Oh, yeah. I've seen all the time. I see it on Facebook, pops up. Just the other day, I saw this picture of a probably generated by AI of a telephone pole with like burning up and so forth, and it did happen.
Hey, there's always another crisis around the bend you can use.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If not, you can just increase tariffs or something.
Or start a war. That's always easy. Screw it. None of this is working. Let's just invade another country. So I think we've invaded or had conflicts with like 170 countries since World War II. It's like, when you look at those statistics, it's a little bit crazy. Aries is ruling this country. Should be Hermes.
Well, the problem is sometimes those foreign people, they resist democracy, and you have to shove it down their throat.
and Jesus. And all that. Yeah.
We're going to represent them guys.
Yeah, we're going to learn you how to love Christ and McDonald's.
Yeah. No, that's why anytime you hear the people, run. Run. The peoples. It belongs to the people. Well, the problem is they don't tell you which people.
Yeah, the people means a stampede's coming, and if you're not running, you're going to be flattened.
Like Mufasa and the Lion King. Ugh. So, Graham, as we get to the end, I was just curious if you would indulge me. Can you name me 2 conspiracy theories that are actually true in your view? But you don't have to give me the mechanics or give the audience the mechanics. You could say, I believe these are true. Like, easy ones for me is JFK and 9/11, although I admit with 9/11, I still don't have the exact mechanics. So with JFK, it's Alan Dulles. I think it's simple for a starting point. What about you? What are some conspiracies are true or contend or are very confident are true?
I was going to say, I'm going to choose off the normal list here. And one of the ones that I'm going to say is the idea that oil is a fossil fuel is basically a conspiracy psyop.
I agree with you on that one, yes.
Coal is a fossil fuel, but oil is much more of a function of the earth itself cracking hydrocarbons.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one.
Yeah. What's that? Go ahead, Vance.
I've got one. Building 7 in the World Trade Center.
Yeah, that's talk about a slam dunk.
Yeah, because you can construct that. Graham, you probably thought of this yourself, but you can construct that. Building 7 was full of skiffs, secure containers and so forth for classified information and so forth. And the directive for that, if you lose control of classified information, the directive is to destroy it. And if you've got a building full of classified information and you lose control of it, which is what happened when the towers collapsed, what do? You destroy it. Mm-hmm. And there was so much in there. I think they just decided. I think it was pre-wired to be destroyed in the event of some catastrophe.
Well, I'm sure those blueprints showed no signs of any sort of explosive wiring or anything like that. So.
Oh no, because not the unclassified blueprints. The classified blueprints are locked up inside Building 7.
Yeah, The one that always stank to high heaven to me on the on 9/11 was the insurance that was taken out like a week before.
Yeah. And the
That
warnings
one,
that were issued.
Or that
yeah.
mine is the terrorist passport that just landed in the middle of the street. It's like, are you kidding me? That's the best you got.
And the aircraft engine. The aircraft engine is sitting on the sidewalk. Oh yeah, the whole thing, like the whole building melted down yet, but there's a beautiful engine just sitting on the sidewalk.
Yeah. That was Dick Cheney just like pushing on the street while nobody's watching.
How did they get it there? I don't know.
I was going to say that's one in my Forrest Gump type life where I had a friend who was actually his job was he was part of a film crew. And he was filming in New Jersey the day of 9/11, and they actually caught the second plane going into the building.
Oh wow!
And they ran into some people over there who was with binoculars and stuff who were watching very intently. Didn't know who they were or anything; just they were watching.
As if before the towers came down.
As the towers were as they got hit, because he was filming as they got hit. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
He gave me the impression that they were there before the towers got hit.
Right. They were waiting.
Again, I have quite a few of these, friends who happen to be in places that of interesting events and such.
I bet.
Well, I had a friend. I came when I first came down here to Santa Maria on business. They were having the Michael Jackson trial, and we ran into a guy that worked for Getty Images. He was a photographer, and we got to talking with him, and he claimed that one of the armed services, I forget which one it was, they had a manual on alien spacecraft recovery procedures. In other words, what to do if you ran into a crashed extraterrestrial vehicle. And in that same discussion in the restaurant, he also told us that there were anti-aircraft guns on top of the White House that were cleverly camouflaged. That turned out to be true.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that the second one wasn't a big revelation, but I thought it was interesting that they had a manual on specific procedure on handling crashed extraterrestrial vehicles.
Well, I was going to say that one. I can confirm that the U.S. Space Force did exist in 1985 because that was an option for me when I went into the Air Force.
Oh, the Space Force itself, or there's always been a space wing, right?
It was called the Space Force. Yeah. No, it's called Space Force. It was, again, I don't know if it wasn't really Space Wing. It was something strange.
Interesting.
The colonel gave me the book, and it had every job in there. And one of the things I found fascinating was what ruled you out for other jobs. Like if you were in the Peace Corps, you could never have anything to do with nuclear weapons.
Wow.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Merciful.
They don't trust you that you're going to turn the key. I can understand that.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't draft you at all if you were in the Peace Corps. What are you going to do? Engage in a war if you're in the Peace Corps?
I had somebody who changed their mind and enlisted, I guess. Maybe they're schizophrenic. Who knows?
Well, awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation. We a little deviated from Aeon by, but not really. Paranoia, conspiracy, the control system. It's all part of it's all part of the Archonic mythology and the Gnostic mythology. Romans, Persians, all that had their false flags. Nothing has changed. We just have a few more shiny objects and so forth. So, but we probably should wrap it up. I hope you guys in the audience enjoy it. As always, please support AM Byte in any way you can. Like, subscribe, donation, sub, help keep this Red Pill Cafeteria open. We probably will have a show this weekend. I know it's Easter weekend, but we have like a very spicy show on Mind Parasites. It's on Saturday, so that's the day Jesus went down to hell. So I thought it wouldn't be like blasphemous. My wife won't be furious at me. But yeah. And yeah, I do hope you have a good week and a good Easter if you celebrate. But we are at the end. First, I'll say, Vance, thanks for keeping us company.
Oh, it's always great to be on Archons Bite, not Gnashing Radio.
Yes, indeed. Well, Graham, thanks. Really appreciate you bringing this presentation and this research, and hopefully a lot of people will bookmark it. So in 2 years exactly, if stuff appears on the news, they can go back and pull this up.
Oh, absolutely. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope none of this actually happens.
Yeah.
No, and I thank you for the opportunity. It's always fun when I can come on here and give a presentation myself, rather than just sit there and man the chat.
The Chatico. No, really appreciate good stuff. And yes, for everybody else, yeah, as always, I hope you're writing your own gospel, living your own myth. I hope you're running with those searching for the truth and avoiding those who have found it. And I hope you have like I said, great week, great Easter, and certainly rest of the evening.